Today at Manchester Theatres, I am lucky enough to be joined by Ellie Leach and Jason Durr, who are currently touring with Cluedo 2, The Next Chapter. It is coming to the Lowry from the 2nd of April, and if it's anything as funny as the first one that we saw, then we are all in for a treat. Now, Ellie, of course, is one of our own local superstars, having been on Coronation Street as Faye Windass for 13 years, where she brought us many hard-hitting storylines that got the nation talking and was quite rightly nominated for many awards along the way. Of course, recently, Ellie has lifted that glitter ball trophy with professional partner Vito on Strictly Come Dancing. And she is also an ambassador for the Wish Upon a Star charity, where she does lots of work with them over the years. Jason, after graduation, as you do, of course, went straight into the Royal Shakespeare Company under the directorship of Sir Trevor Nunn when he was doing plays such as Measure for Measure and Macbeth. He has gone on to do other shows such as A Chorus Line, Sherlock, played Poirot in Black Coffee. And on screen, of course, we know David from many shows such as Heartbeat, Inspector Morse, Lewis, Midsummer Murders, and my personal favourite, David Hyde from Casualty. But today we are here to find out the who, the what, the why, where they did it, with what, etc., as we talk about Cluedo 2. So thank you both for joining us. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure.
Of
Lovely
course.
to be here.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, it's lovely. Honestly, it's so good. So Cluedo, first of all, how are we turning a board game into a play, and what is it all about? What's the plot?
Well, I'll quickly answer the first part of that question, and Ellie can answer the second part. If you think about it, there's no better game to turn into a whodunit than Cluedo. I mean, if you've played it, and even if you haven't, it's a whodunit, and we have the joy and the responsibility of bringing that board game with all iconic characters. You know, Ellie plays Miss Scarlett. I'm Colonel Mustard. You've got Reverend Green, Rick Black, Mrs. White, and it's getting all of those people into a sort of live action version, as we call it, on stage. And really, as whodunits go, as I said, it's the best game to do it. And so we've got a fantastic writing team, Lawrence Marks and Maurice Gran, who wrote Birds of a Feather and other brilliant shows. And what they've managed to do with the sort of under the sort of directorship of the wonderful director Mark Bell, who did The Play That Goes Wrong. So many of your listeners and viewers will know that play. We've brought that fantastic team together, and we've turned it into a very funny whodunit. And so even if you didn't see the first one, you can come along and see this one. It's a family show, 8 to 80. Everybody will enjoy it. And you, as an audience, get to be a detective for the evening. So you can be a sort of Sherlock Holmes. And with us, as the actors on stage, you can try and work out who did it, with what, and where. You know, was it a dagger and in the ballroom, or was it a rope in the hall, or whatever? So it's the sort of perfect game, in a way, really, is what I'm saying, that to translate to a whodunit.
Fab. And Ellie, what is the story behind this one then?
Yeah, so like Jason was saying, obviously it's been taken from the board game, and I know that we see like books turned into films and things like that, but I don't think we've ever really seen board games be adapted for stage. So I think that it's an amazing concept. Obviously, murder mystery set in the 60s, and the team behind it are amazing. And yeah, it's based on the board game. And it's so much fun. And I think that what I love about it is the fact that the audience can really immerse themselves in the story and really kind of be their own detectives and be like, oh, I wonder who did it. And it is a classic whodunit. So yeah, it's just, we've just been having so much fun, and the team behind it and the cast are amazing.
And your characters, so we've got Colonel Mustard and we've got Miss Scarlett. So when we're playing the board game, they're just like little blobs of colour. So we have no character, no idea who they are. So tell us about your characters.
Well, the joy of this is that, as you were asking, how does that translate? And so we've sort of got carte blanche to create the narrative, and that's what we've done. It's set in the 1960s in a large manor house, and you've got a sort of 60s Mick Jagger type character, Rick Black, and I'm Colonel Mustard is his agent and manager. So he's the sort of Colonel Tom Parker to Elvis in a way, and yes, he dresses in mustard yellow. One of the the real big things I've always wanted to do on stage, that and have a crazy moustache. That's my bucket list done. So it's been a real joy for all of us, and I'm sure Ellie will touch upon this as well. That it's given us the freedom really to create brand new characters, and so that's what's also great for the audience. They're coming along, they're seeing a new story set in the 60s with characters that are sort of brand new in a way. And so we're not restricted to who the character can be. It's not just sort of, as you said, a little blob of color on a board game. It's much funnier and better than that. So and it is as Ellie was saying, look, it's a riotous evening's entertainment, and it's from 7:30 when the curtain goes up. It's funny, it's fast, it's furious, it gets more and more crazy and silly, and the mayhem and murderous mystery elevates to ridiculous heights. So it's just a really enjoyable, funny, very funny, and the audiences are great because we get up on stage and try and hit those jokes, and they laugh, and that's that sort of immediate response that we all love as actors.
Yeah.
And as Ellie was saying, that people, they get really invested. So if anybody gets killed, they ooh and ah and they gasp, and it's brilliant. So so that's one of the things that I've so far enjoyed doing, and that attracted me to it in the first place.
Yeah, definitely. And as Jason was saying, like, you kind of just, all from Cluedo is a little blob on the board game, and the playing cards, and that's all you've got. So I think that it's been amazing for us to really adapt those characters and really mold them, and basically kind of create whatever we have wanted to with the help of the director Mark and our writers Lawrence and Morris. I think that's what's so amazing about not really having a story to work from. It's just we can kind of create whatever we want to put out on the stage. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun having all of that, story development and the character development, and seeing how things change. And I don't know about Jason, but I learn something new about the character and about the plot every single show that we do. There's always something that I'm like, oh, okay, maybe the reaction is different on that, or maybe the way that she's thinking in this moment is very different to what she initially thought.
Yeah.
And also the great thing is that we're on stage and we're sort of very suspicious of all the other characters. So I'm looking at Mrs. Peacock and Professor Plum, and did they do it, or was it Miss Scarlett, the Scarlet lady, and of course they're looking at me going, it was transparently you, Mustard, whatever. So it really is, and we're sort of looking around, and you can sort of feel the audience going, no, hang on a minute, no, is it, no, and they're changing their minds, toing and froing, and it's just great fun. And interlaced with all of that, there's a lot of humor, and that whether it's and Elliot will agree with me, it's not only physical humor, so it's a very physical show, but there's also lots and lots of good gags, so it kind of pleases all the people all the time.
Well, I was going to ask you about that, because you've mentioned the BAFTA award-winning writers,
yes,
excuse me, Lawrence and Morris, and then you've got Mark directing it, and I believe that the set is very much a part of what you're doing. You've kind of got to know your entrance and exit points, because you're in and out to show the different rooms, and I believe it moves and it becomes a part of it to kind of show the characters going through the board game, through the different rooms. I mean, it's like mishap heaven, isn't it, this show? I mean, you can
imagine what it was like in the first few weeks of rehearsals, of us all trying to put a show together and also know where to leave, what room we're leaving, where we're leaving from, where we're entering from, what we're bringing on. So yeah, it was chaos the first few weeks of rehearsals. But I think obviously this is the first time that I've done a stage play.
Yeah.
and it's very interactive. I love the fact that we're interacting with the set, and we're doing the transitions from room to room, because it kind of really keeps you immersed in the story as an actor while you're on stage. It never ever gives you a chance to have even an element of switch off in between scene changes, because you're always on. So yeah, I think that's an amazing experience to have, especially in the first time for me doing a stage play.
Yeah. And do you get...
And there are a lot of rooms. So, ballroom, conservatory, hall, lounge, so there's a lot of rooms to get through. But we with very clever sort of theatrical tricks and us working incredibly hard, we managed to create all of those things and sort of satiate the need for the audience, for those people who love the game, but those who don't know it, to see all those rooms. And we do it in a really, really sort of physical and creative way. So that's also great fun.
But how do you, when, like you said, obviously in rehearsals at the start, there was that chaos because you were like, wait, what? Where am I supposed to be? But do you get, how far in do you actually, because rehearsals are normally like tape on a floor, right? Well, that represents that, and that represents, how far into it do you actually get? Is it like not till you get to tech that you're getting to rehearse with these huge things? And then you're like,
props. Yes, and then that adds another frisson to the whole thing, because of course, it's one of, like you said, and it's one thing in a rehearsal room sort of walking up to bits of tape on the floor, and then someone says, yes, that's a fireplace, or that's a library truck, and then of course you get on stage, and in the tech, these things are enormous, and they're really hard to push, and they go, no, Jason, you can just push it. Ellie, you're pushing that on by yourself, and people are going, I
don't think so.
And, oh yeah, you are. So that itself is hilarious, because you then even more things go wrong. But as Mark Bell directed the play that goes wrong, things do inevitably go wrong. But as Ellie and I have sort of learned as we're on stage, if something goes wrong, the audience love it.
Yeah.
They're right there with us, and they want it to go right for you, and they'll laugh at it, not at you. They'll laugh with you. So it's it is a learning curve, but I think we've just about mastered it. I think
so. But I also like that is the part and parcel of putting a show together. You are gonna come to some hurdles, and you are gonna find a way to work around them. And as a team, as a production, we have found ways to work around things. And I think that's what's amazing, is the fact that we've got a great team around us. We've got a great cast who, if something isn't working or if something goes wrong, we put our heads together and we think, okay, how can we sort this out? How can we find a solution? And I think that's the amazing thing about live theatre, is the fact that it's not always going to go the way that you've planned it.
No,
but it's also how you kind of get back up from that.
And also on stage, it's not even in the rehearsal room. On stage, you've got to think really quickly and make it,
Of course,
and I think one of the first, was it the first where we played, one of the first theatres we played had a rake, and a lot of theatres have rakes on the stage.
Richmond,
and a lot of the stuff that we push and pull off the stage have wheels. So you can see where I'm going with this.
Everything was just rolling.
Exactly. A lot of stuff was sort of migrating down to the front of the stage, and we didn't want it to end up in the audience in the stall. So you have to find a very creative. I'm being diplomatic here. You have to find a very creative way of stopping it falling off the stage. And that in itself is hilarious, because suddenly you see a load of actors that transparently are panicking, but they're not. It doesn't look like they're panicking. Yeah. So it just adds to it. And we over the weeks we find a way through that. But that's also the joy of live theatre. And you want to make it look as slick as possible, because people are paying good money to come see you. And it's one of those shows that has a sort of something for everyone really. And it's just so much fun.
Yeah.
There's so much laughter, which is great.
And it's brilliant when it's constantly keeping you on your toes as well, like that, because it means that you're staying fresh with it and you're bringing it fresh to the audience. So like you've said, from age 8 right through to 80, there's something for everyone in this show.
Yeah, absolutely. You'd agree, wouldn't you, Ellie? I think.
Yeah, of course. It's a huge family show. And something that can really bring your family together, and just to go out and have a night at the theatre and just enjoy it and be immersed in it and kind of forget about the outside world for a while.
And
So
then there's always a window when they leave the theatre. One person will have guessed it right because right up until
it's like a competition between the family.
There you have a competition. It's a healthy competition.
Yeah.
And someone will be leaving that theatre, the winner, having guessed it was whoever. But it's fun. It's just a lot of fun, and people, there's a lot of laughter, which is great.
And that's exactly what we want from the show, isn't it? So thank you both so much for joining me today. Honestly, it's been an absolute treat. And there's only kind of one thing left. It's like the who was it, with what and where. So the who is Cluedo 2, the next chapter. The with what is your friends, your family, get along there. And the where is the Lowry from the 2nd of April. So we will see you there. Thank you both so much. And all the best with the rest of the tour.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for having us. Take care.
You.
See you in.
You will.